Hey guys, what's up? So in the last video, we talked about multiple class inheritance. Before that, we talked about class inheritance, and then we talked about classes before that. The third video, or this is the fourth video actually, is about the super keyword. And the super keyword's a little bit confusing in Python. It's been confusing for decades now, and it's going to continue to be confusing as we move into the future. It's just something that's confusing. With Python, if let's take a look at this code that we have here. We have class A, and then the object, you don't have to worry about that. That's referring to itself. It doesn't mean anything. It's not inheriting from any other classes. Class B is defined here, so there's no class inheritance going on. These are just two separate classes. And then we have class C that is using multiple class inheritance, which it's inheriting from A and B. And then inside the classes themselves, you have the init method, right? And this is an important method in Python. It can be seen as like the constructor method in something like C#, or if you've ever done any sort of programming like that. But it's code that's executed when the object is created. So if we run this code, the interesting thing to note with multiple class inheritance, since we're creating an object of C, which is right down here, the only init that's going to be called, even though C inherits from all these other classes, the only one it's going to be called is going to be this one right here. So let's go ahead and run this real quick so we can get a look at this. And you can see the only thing that got called, the only init was C. So a lot of the times though, you don't want that to happen. You're like, oh, I need execution code in the parent class to be executed, even though I have a class that's inheriting from that parent class. So it's a common thing, and that's where the super keyword comes in. So I can say, you know what, I want the base class init to be called before my init by using the super keyword. Or I can even do that, I can call it even after. But in this particular case, we're going to do it before. So before, this is our execution stuff. Now, obviously, it's a simple print statement, but in most real cases, you're going to have a lot of stuff. I mean, including maybe database calls and who knows whatever sort of complexity your program has. Now, let's go ahead and use this new super keyword. And by the way, this has changed in the Python 3 series, especially pertaining to this tutorial series of Python 3.5. But you used to have to pass in arguments to the super keyword. You no longer have to do that. A lot of people don't seem to know that. So anyway, we have init, and you're calling super with no arguments. And then that's it. Just open and close parentheses. So what we're saying is super refers to the parent class, the parent base class. And the reason why it's important is because you don't have to actually explicitly call, class A init for the execution to take place without having to refer to the base class by name. You can just simply use the super keyword, which it allows things to be not so explicitly typed out, so verbose, and it's just a benefit here. So when we do this, this is now going to say, you know what, before I call my own init, stuff, well, technically init was called, but it says before I do all this crap, call the parent and run its init code first, and then continue with your execution. So if I rerun this program, you can see over here that first was called, then third. So even if I step through it, you can see C is called, it calls super. So that's why first gets printed. Then it continues with its execution and calls 3, and it carries on its way. So you're going to see super keyword a lot whenever you start getting into more advanced, complicated Python programming code, which has to do with object orientation and any sort of large systems. Object-oriented programming becomes very difficult. And Python has a lot of flexibility with the way objects are inherited from each other, and the fact that you can use things like the super keyword to call the base class and stuff like that. So it's an interesting feature. It's probably something that you're not going to use a whole lot. Most, like I said, unless you're doing like enterprise programming or writing some more complicated Python applications, you're really most likely not going to see this a whole lot. At least that's my opinion anyway, because I've managed to program in Python for quite some time without having to resort to the super keyword. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Have a good day. Bye.